The handshake between Captain Elias Ward and General Vethin was seen across the stars. No explosions, no parades, only silence. But in that silence, the universe changed. For the first time in 50 years, the guns stopped. Ships returned to orbit, soldiers dropped their weapons, and the long echo of war began to fade. On Earth, people stood in front of screens, unable to believe it. On Velarii Prime, children who grew up fearing humans saw something new: hope. A few days later, Elias stood on the balcony of Nira Station, watching the stars through the transparent dome. Peace still felt strange to him. After so many years of battle, the quiet almost hurt his ears. Behind him, Vathan joined him. The old alien moved slowly, his breathing heavy. "You humans. You end wars in the most unexpected ways," Vathan said quietly. Elias smiled. "We didn't end it, General. We just stopped fighting long enough to see the truth." Vathan tilted his head. "And what truth is that?" Elias looked out at the stars. "That life isn't about who can kill faster, but who can live longer, together." In the Velarii archives, the recording from Corinth V was still stored. The moment when a human ate the deadly toxin. It was shown again and again in classrooms, history halls, and training camps, but now it was no longer a warning. It was a lesson. The caption beneath it read, "Do not fear what you do not understand. Learn from it." Years passed. The Terran and Velarii fleets no longer faced each other in battle. They patrolled together side by side. Shared colonies appeared. Mixed crews explored new worlds. Elias Ward retired, living peacefully on a small moon near Earth. Every morning, he sat outside his cabin looking at the sunrise and drinking tea. One day, a Velarii messenger arrived, a young officer wearing both Terran and Velarii symbols. He handed Elias a small crystal chip. "From General Vathan," he said with a bow. Elias inserted the chip into his small projector. A blue hologram appeared, Vathan, older now, but smiling. "Captain Ward," the message began. "I thought you should know. Our scientists finally studied the siren spores again. We discovered something. They're not poison to us anymore. We adapted." He paused, then added softly, "Maybe that's what peace does. It changes you, even at the smallest level." The hologram flickered, ending with Vathan's final words. "You humans taught us that death isn't always the end. Sometimes it's just another beginning." Elias leaned back, smiling faintly. He looked up at the stars, bright, quiet, endless. The war was over. The fear was gone. And in the silence of a galaxy once drowned in fire, one truth remained. When the universe saw a human eat what killed them, it didn't just fear humanity. It learned from them. The silence between humans and Velarii lasted for weeks. No one fired a shot. No one dared to break the quiet. But silence cannot last forever. Across the Velarii Empire, people began to whisper in their cities, their stations, their homes. Are the humans still fighting? No, but they're watching. Then we should stay quiet. You never wake a predator when it sleeps. That sentence, "You never wake a predator when it sleeps," spread across planets like a warning. In the High Council chamber, General Vathan stood before the alien leaders. The old Chancellor looked tired, his skin pale under the cold light. "General," the Chancellor said, "what do we do now? They don't attack, they don't speak, they just wait." Vathan looked at the hologram of Earth glowing above the table. "Maybe we should stop fearing them," he said quietly. "Maybe we should try to understand them." The chamber erupted in protests. "You want to meet them? They're monsters. They eat poison." Vathan raised his voice. "And yet they never destroyed us. They could have used what they learned to wipe us out, but they didn't." The room went silent. He took a slow breath. "If they wanted to end us, they already would have. Maybe it's time to talk." After a long pause, the Chancellor nodded. "Then go, General, speak to them, if they are willing." On the other side of space, aboard the Terran flagship Resolve, Captain Elias Ward received a message from the Velarii. It was short, simple. "We request a meeting. No weapons. No tricks. Only truth." His officers stared at him. "Sir, it could be a trap." Elias smiled faintly. "After 50 years of war, if they wanted me dead, I would be already. Let's hear what they have to say." The meeting took place on Nera Station, a neutral zone floating between human and Velarii space. The chamber was empty except for 2 guards on each side, and a long table of black stone. When Vethin entered, he stopped for a moment, studying the human who had become a legend. Elias Ward stood tall, calm, his uniform simple. His eyes looked tired but kind, not the eyes of a monster, but of a man who had seen too much. Vethin sat down slowly. "You are the one from Corin 5, he said. "Yes," Elias replied softly. "I was." The alien's voice trembled slightly. "Why did you eat the poison?" Elias looked down, then back up. "Because I was hungry, and because I didn't know it would kill me." Vethin blinked. "That's it?" Elias smiled faintly. "That's the thing about humans. We don't always act with reason. We act to survive. We try. We fail. We learn. Sometimes that's what keeps us alive." The room went silent. Finally, Vethin spoke again. "We feared you. We thought you were creatures of death." Elias shook his head. "No. We just learned not to run from it." He stood and extended his hand. Vethin stared at it for a long time, then slowly reached out and took it. For the first time in half a century, a human and a Velarii shook hands. Outside the station, thousands of soldiers on both sides watched the live feed. They didn't cheer, they didn't shout, they just watched, and for the first time, believed peace might be real. When the handshake ended, Vethin whispered, "Perhaps your kind doesn't eat death, perhaps you just refuse to let it win." Elias smiled. "That's close enough." The cameras shut off. The war, built on fear and misunderstanding, was finally breaking apart. And somewhere in the deep quiet of space, the galaxy exhaled. Peace hadn't been declared yet, but it had begun with something stronger than words. It began with respect. For the first time in 50 years, the stars went quiet. No explosions, no gunfire, no screaming orders across comms. The great war between humans and the Velarii had suddenly stopped. Both sides still had their fleets ready, their soldiers armed, but no one moved. The galaxy waited, holding its breath. Across the human border, Captain Elias Ward's ship drifted above a ruined moon. He watched the radar, not a single enemy signal in days. "Strange," his pilot said quietly. "They used to hit us every week." Elias nodded. "Now they just watch." And they were watching. Hundreds of Velarii scout ships floated at a distance, scanning human vessels, recording their movements, but never firing. The silence felt heavier than war. Far away, on the Velarii command ship, General Vethin watched a live feed of human troops rebuilding a destroyed outpost. He zoomed in on one scene, a human medic treating a soldier burned by acid. The doctor removed his gloves and pressed his bare hand on the wound. The acid hissed, smoke rising from his skin, but instead of burning, the flesh healed, both the patients and the medics. Vethin's officers recoiled. "Sir, they can heal each other?" "It seems so," Vethin said slowly. "Pain does not stop them. It changes them." He turned away from the screen, uneasy. "And every time they change, they become something new." On the human side, command was also confused. Messages poured in from the front lines. Reports of alien ships holding position, of enemy armies retreating into silence. At the Terran Council meeting, Admiral Rowan frowned. "They've stopped attacking, but they haven't surrendered." "Why?" Dr. Rhea Solin's face appeared on the holoscreen. "Because they're scared. They don't understand us anymore." The Admiral crossed his arms. "Then we've won." Dr. Rhea shook her head. "No, sir. Fear is never victory. It's the beginning of something worse." Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed worry. When a species fears what it can't kill, it either runs, or it tries something desperate. Meanwhile, in a Velarii outpost on the dark moon Tassar, a small group of soldiers sat in silence, watching a hologram of Elias Ward's face. One of them whispered, "He looks normal." "Normal?" Another scoffed. "He ate the spore. He should have died." A third soldier spoke softly. "Maybe they're not just warriors. Maybe there's something more." The others stared at him. He continued. "They came from a death world. Every creature on Earth kills or gets killed. They didn't just survive, and they learned to live with it. To eat it, to grow from it. His voice dropped to a whisper. Maybe death itself fears them. No one replied. But every Velarii in that room felt the same chill crawl down their spine. Back on Earth, the public celebrated the sudden quiet in space. People cheered that the war might be ending. But Elias Ward couldn't feel peace. He sat alone in his quarters, staring at the stars through the viewport. Something about the silence bothered him. It wasn't peace, and it was tension. He whispered, "They're not done. They're waiting." At that same moment, light years away, General Vethin stood before the High Council. "Our fleets will not attack," he declared. "But we will observe. We must learn what humans truly are, before they decide to learn about us." The Council agreed. The war had changed, from open fire to quiet fear. Across the stars, human and alien eyes watched each other through the darkness. No one pulled the trigger. No one dared to move first. The galaxy had entered a new kind of war. One made of silence, waiting, and whispers. And somewhere among those whispers, one question echoed through every world. If humans can survive death itself, what else are they capable of? On Earth, the blue planet that started it all, the scientists of the Terran Federation worked without rest. They had received the Velarii broadcast, a leaked copy of the footage showing Captain Elias Ward eating the siren spore. Now, the whole galaxy had seen it. Some called Elias a hero, others called him a monster. Inside the main Terran research station, Dr. Rhea Solon stood over a glass screen showing Elias's blood samples. The readings glowed bright red, full of energy, moving faster than any humans should. Her assistant looked confused. "He should be dead, ma'am. The spore toxin destroys everything, cells, nerves, even metal. But his body, it's adapting." Dr. Rhea smiled slightly. "That's what humans do. We adapt." She tapped the screen, zooming in on a blood cell that was splitting rapidly. "Look here. The toxin isn't killing his cells, it's being absorbed. The body is learning from it." Her assistant frowned. "Learning?" "Yes," she said quietly. "The human immune system doesn't just fight threats. It studies them. It turns enemies into lessons. We don't fear death. We understand it." Far across the stars in the Velarii High Council chamber, the leaders were in crisis. Every scientist, every general, every officer had seen the human footage. General Vethin stood in front of the council table. "We have studied human biology for decades," he said. "But we never saw the truth. Their homeworld, Earth, is not peaceful. It's chaos." He pressed a button and the hologram of Earth appeared, a swirling ball of storms and lightning. Radiation, disease, predators, ice, fire. Their planet tried to kill them from the moment they were born, and yet they survived. They adapted to poison, pain, hunger, and fear. The High Chancellor leaned forward. "So they are not stronger. They are simply used to dying." Vethin shook his head. "No, Chancellor. They are used to surviving." Meanwhile, Elias Ward sat in his small ship watching the news. The galaxy had turned his face into a legend. He saw his own image, him kneeling in the poison fog, replaying on alien channels. Reporters called him the Death Eater. He hated that name. He switched off the screen and sighed. "I didn't do anything special," he muttered. His pilot, a young recruit, looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, the aliens are terrified of us. Some fleets stopped fighting. You ended a war just by eating something." Elias gave a small laugh. "Guess I should be more careful with my meals." But deep inside he felt uneasy. He had seen the fear in alien eyes before. Now it was different, deeper, colder. They weren't just afraid of humans. They were starting to believe humans were something else entirely. Back in the Velarii labs, their scientists ran endless tests on human DNA samples taken from old prisoners of war. One of them gasped when he saw the results. "This can't be real." Their cells remember damage. Every scar, every infection, every toxin. Their body stores it like data. Another scientist whispered, "So every time they suffer, they become stronger?" The chief researcher nodded slowly. "Yes, pain is not their weakness. It's their teacher." The room went silent. Someone finally said, "How do we fight a species that learns from death?" No one had an answer. That night, as storms raged outside Earth's atmosphere, Dr. Rhea sent a message to the Terran Command Council. "If this discovery spreads," she wrote, "the Velarii will fear us more than ever. But fear brings danger. They may not surrender. They may try to destroy us completely before it's too late. Her message ended with one line that echoed across the stars. The only thing more dangerous than a human who survives is a human who understands why. High above the poisoned world of Corin 5, the Velarii command ship Orin's Pride drifted through space. Its metal wings reflected the pale light of a dying sun. Inside, silence filled the command deck until an officer shouted, "Commander, we're getting a signal from the surface." The commander, a tall, gray-skinned Velarii named General Vethan, turned sharply. "From who?" The officer looked at his screen. "A scout ID code, Serac, but sir, the signal is weak. It's a recording." Vethan's red eyes narrowed. "Play it." Static filled the speakers. Then came Serac's heavy breathing, the sound of wind, and finally, the blurry image of the battlefield. They watched through Serac's visor cam, smoke, ruins, dead soldiers, and then the human appeared. The officers leaned closer, their faces tight with disbelief. The human walked calmly through poison clouds. He knelt beside the glowing green pool, the deadly siren spore. "Pause," Vethan ordered. "That's the toxin site. Every species that touches that substance dies instantly. Continue." The footage played on. They saw the human dip his finger. The glowing green toxin touched his skin. Everyone on the bridge held their breath. The human stared at the substance for a second, then ate it. Gasps filled the room. One officer covered his mouth. Another whispered, "No. No creature could survive that." They watched the man chew, swallow, and walk away, completely unharmed. Then came Serac's dying voice. They eat what kills us." The screen went black. No one spoke for a full minute. The only sound was the low hum of the ship's engines. Finally, Vethan said, "Is this real?" The science officer swallowed. I checked the signal, sir. It's authentic. No tampering. The spore's energy signature is clear. That pool was lethal. The human should have dissolved in seconds." Vethan turned to the holographic display. It showed human biology scans. Strong muscles, complex immune systems, fast healing. "They adapt," he murmured. "They always adapt." He looked out the viewport toward the blue dot of Earth in the distance. "Send this footage to the Council. Every world must see it." Meanwhile, deep in the ruins of Corin 5, the same human soldier, Captain Elias Ward, walked through the fog, unaware of the chaos his simple act had started. His helmet radio crackled. "Elias, do you read me? This is command. Are you alive?" He smiled faintly, still breathing. "Your vitals are off the charts, Captain. You're in the middle of a toxic zone." "Yeah," Elias said, looking at the glowing green mist around him. "I noticed. Get out of there now." Elias laughed softly. "Relax, Command. It's just air." The radio went silent for a moment. Then a new voice came through, deeper, serious. "Elias, no one survives that air." Elias looked up at the orange sky. "Guess I'm no one then." He kept walking toward the old transport site, unaware that orbiting satellites had already recorded everything, every movement, every breath, across the Velarii network. Data streams carried his image faster than any weapon. On every alien world, screens flickered to life, showing the same impossible moment. A human soldier eating what should have killed him. In military halls, soldiers whispered in fear. In labs, scientists stared in silence. Some called it madness, others called it evolution. But one thing was clear. The galaxy had just seen something it could never forget. And somewhere far beyond the stars, in secret council chambers, Velarii leaders watched the footage again and again. Their faces pale, one finally spoke. "If humans can eat death itself, what can truly stop them?" The question hung in the air like thunder, and the war, for the first time in 50 years, began to tremble. The war had turned the stars red. For 50 long years, humans in the Velarii Empire fought across countless worlds. Every planet burned, every city screamed. No one remembered how it began, only that it never stopped. And then came Corin 5, a planet no one wanted. Covered in gray fog and deadly siren spores, it was a place where even air killed. The Velarii used it as a weapon world, a place where human armies were supposed to die quickly. But something strange happened. When the last battle ended, the sky was dark with ash. Ships were broken, fire glowed faintly in the distance. The ground was silent except for the wind whispering through metal bones. A single Velarii scout, Sirach, woke up among the ruins. His armor was cracked, his lungs burned. He checked his sensors, no sign of his squad. Only silence, and the toxic mist. He coughed, blood dripping from his mouth. He knew he wouldn't last long. The siren spores were already inside him. They were invisible death. One breath, and the poison began eating his veins. As Sirach tried to crawl toward a fallen wall, his eyes caught movement in the fog. At first he thought it was a ghost. A tall figure walking slowly, dragging a weapon. The figure moved through the toxic air like it was nothing. Then Sirach froze. It was a human. The man's armor was scratched, his helmet gone. His face was dirty, bloodied, but calm. Too calm for someone standing in a field of death. Sirach couldn't believe it. No life form could survive here. Not even the Velarii with their best filters. And yet this human walked like he was on a morning stroll. The soldier stopped near a pool of glowing green liquid, the heart of the siren spores. Every Velarii knew it well. One drop could kill a creature in seconds. The human knelt down beside it. Sirach's hand trembled as he watched through his cracked visor. "Don't touch it," he whispered weakly, even though no one could hear him. But the man did. He dipped his finger into the glowing pool. The toxin hissed softly as it touched his skin. Sirach waited for the scream, for the human to fall and die. But nothing happened. Instead, the soldier lifted his finger, looked at the green liquid shining under the fog, and put it in his mouth. Sirach's heart stopped. He tried to sit up, pain shooting through his chest. No, that's impossible," he whispered. The human chewed slowly, swallowed, and wiped his mouth. His expression didn't change. No pain, no reaction. Only calm eyes looking into the fog. For the first time in his life, Sirach felt fear, not of death but of what he was seeing. He pressed the record button on his helmet camera, capturing every second. The human stood up, slung his rifle over his shoulder, and walked away right through the toxic mist, his boots leaving deep prints in the glowing soil. Sirach lay there, breathing fast. His vision blurred as the poison reached his heart. But before darkness took him, he whispered one last line into his recorder. They eat what kills us." Moments later, the Velarii scout stopped moving. His camera light blinked once, then went silent. But the recording didn't die. It continued to send out a weak signal into space, bouncing off satellites, reaching far beyond the ruined planet. A single message carrying a terrifying truth was on its way to the Velarii High Command, and when they saw it, the war would never be the same again. The message spread like wildfire, from one Velarii ship to another, from one colony to the next. The image of the human soldier eating the siren spore was everywhere. On every screen, aliens watched the same impossible scene. A human kneeling in poison, touching death, and living. In the Velarii capital, inside the shining towers of Orellan Prime, leaders and scientists filled the Great Council Hall. Their faces were pale, their voices low. On the main screen, the recording looped again, the moment when the human chewed the glowing toxin and stood up unharmed. No one spoke for a long time. Then a young researcher whispered, "That substance kills everything. Even robots melt in it." "But the human," the chief scientist interrupted, voice shaking. The human digested it. His biology broke down the spore at a molecular level. It didn't kill him. It fed him, murmurs filled the room. Some called it impossible. Others called it a mutation. But everyone in that hall felt the same thing, fear. Meanwhile, in orbit, General Vethin stood before his officers on the command deck. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed something new. Doubt. "They were supposed to be weak," he said. "Unorganized, emotional, easy to destroy." He turned toward the star map showing the human colony spread across space. "They lost battles, yes, but they always came back stronger. We burned their worlds, yet they returned with twice the number. Their soldiers fight with fire in their eyes. And now," he pointed to the screen showing Elias Ward's recording, "now they can survive what kills gods." No one answered. The silence felt heavy. The communication officer spoke softly. "Sir, our troops are asking questions. Some are refusing to land on human-held worlds. They fear the air itself might turn against them." Vathan closed his eyes. Fear spreads faster than war. On the human side, Captain Elias Ward sat in a small med bay, unaware of the chaos his actions caused. A doctor scanned his blood, frowning. "You should be dead, Captain," she said. Elias smiled. "That's what I keep hearing. What did you do down there?" "Nothing special," he said, shrugging. "I was hungry," the doctor laughed nervously. "You ate poison." "Maybe for them," Elias said quietly. "But not for us." He looked out the window at the dark space beyond. "We come from a planet that tried to kill us every day. Poison, fire, storms, disease. Earth trained us to survive. I guess this galaxy wasn't ready for that." The doctor didn't answer. She just stared at the scanner, where Elias's blood cells glowed brighter than normal. Back on Orellan Prime, panic was rising. Alien generals gathered in secret rooms arguing. "We must attack now before they learn more. No, we can't fight something that death itself avoids. If one human can survive the spores, what if they all can?" The High Council leader raised his hand, silencing the room. His voice was cold. "We called them primitive. But they have turned our greatest weapon into a meal. Tell me, what kind of species eats death?" No one had an answer. Across the stars, the Velarii fleets began to hesitate. Ships that once bombarded human worlds now stayed in orbit, watching from a distance. And deep within every Velarii mind, the same thought grew stronger. If humans could eat poison today, what would they do tomorrow? Far away in the quiet of space, Elias Ward stared at the reflection of Earth on his ship's window. He didn't know he had become a legend. He didn't know the galaxy now feared his kind. He only whispered to himself, "Maybe now they'll finally stop fighting." But peace was still far away. The galaxy was watching humanity, and what they saw was not weakness anymore. They saw the beginning of something unstoppable.